community in mind.
How you been?
Focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our
Got a
voices.
sly little smile on
Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus.
You're sitting in Robert's chair, but he should be here, but you can stay there as long as you can stay. You can stay. He'll sit over there.
David W. Coleman and Robert Webb.
All right, what's happening? It's the Friday edition of Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. We ought to have a full house. Although we thought Cliff was going to be here with us today, and he recently just texted me and said he's not going to be able to make it. But we do have our new lady co-host on Fridays in with us today, Miss Kesha Cobb. We'll talk to her in just a moment. We're also expecting Robert Webb to be here today as well. So we're going to have a full house and a fun show. Want to remind people that you can go out on joynetradio.com to download our latest, or I should say download the Joynet Radio app from your prospective app store, or just go to the store itself and download the app. It's easy to do. It's a quick download, and that way you can carry Joynet everywhere you go. Also, remember that every show is reproduced on now Spotify, as well as Apple Podcast and Google Podcast. Just about on every podcast platform out there, you can download Black Focus Radio. So if you didn't get the show, or you missed the show, or you want to say, hey, let me go find out what those crazy guys were talking about today, you can do that as well. So make sure you get that taken care of. The number, by the way, if you want to talk to us, is 855-525-5683. That's how you get in touch with us if you want to talk to us about whatever's going on in the community. Want to remind you as well, tonight is the last home game for Little Rock Central. It is a big game for them. If they can win tonight, they are set to go to the playoffs. So we're wishing them good luck. Obviously, the broadcast starts at 6:40 with yours truly. I'll be on the play-by-play, calling the Tigers. By the way, I want to shout out to all of the sponsors who donated money to Little Rock Central to make sure that broadcast happened. We raised over $5,000 for that broadcast. So I'm very proud of that. Next year, our goal is to raise $20,000. Okay? So just tonight, just want to remind you, stick and stay. 6:40, the broadcast begins. And we'll be having some fun and talking about the sponsors and on all of those good things that we do on joynetradio.com. 855-525-5683. Before I do Black Facts, let me give you the tease for today, some of the topics that are on the agenda. Of course, we'll probably dance into some other things as well as we normally do, because Robert certainly likes to, just start his own show in the middle of the show. But that's okay. Okay? Because I love you, man. I love you. So let me introduce our host for today.
Why you trying to trash me? Turn my mic on, man. Why you trying to trash me?
Robert Webb.
Why you trashing me?
He's here today.
Getting trashed?
No, I was. It wasn't a trash.
Are you taking up for that?
See, it wasn't.
I thought we was betting that.
We are.
Yeah. So, what? When? How? And also that other voice that you hear is our new. Well, she's going to try to be here every Friday. She's Kesha Cobb.
I am.
And we're basically doing as some of you all asked, is that they enjoyed Kesha so much the last time she was here that we would bring her back. So subsequently, I went out and contacted her and said, hey, they like you. Would you be interested in doing the show on a regular basis? And because she's an independent black woman with her own business where she ain't got to answer to the man,
Her own business.
she can do it.
I like that.
Y'all get that, right?
She got her own business.
I said that on purpose. So, Kesha, hello. Welcome to the show.
Hello, everyone.
And let me just tell you right off the bat, don't let Robert intimidate you.
Okay.
Whoa,
Okay.
Whoa.
Don't
Where'd
let
that come
Robert
from?
intimidate you.
Last time you hit Kesha, wasn't I the sweetest one of the both of us?
Sweetest? No, I mean, you guys
Really?
were great. Y'all were great.
Really?
No.
It was just good. It was
She
good
knows
vibes.
better
How
to
about
talk
that?
down to the host.
Oh, Lord.
Get him, Kesha.
No.
Because
I'll be the balance.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Well, get it together, leave it alone, man.
I'll be
You know.
the balance.
But yeah, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Of course, I'm looking for my black fact. So, but Kesha's going to be with us every Friday, and certainly we'll talk a little bit about her business as well. I think what she's doing is a great opportunity for a lot of people, particularly black people. So this is
she doing it big.
right. This is a woman you need to know. I'm just going to be real with y'all. You really need to get to know her. I mean, not get to know her like that, but get to know her.
She's like, I got it.
I got it.
You know what I'm saying?
What they
So
need, player.
also we'll talk a little bit today about y'all first black president, Barack Obama. Not Bill Clinton in Arkansas, but Barack Obama calling out the woke folks.
Ooh, let's get it.
I didn't know. I didn't hear that. You gotta
Well,
give
you
me.
have to read what he said.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit.
Are you gonna read what he says? So I can
Yeah,
get
yeah,
the
we'll read that,
complete
and
total context.
and also we'll talk a little bit about casinos. I read an interesting article last night from the Atlantic about a lot of people think casinos are a panacea and it's going to save us from everything.
No, casinos are horrible.
It really doesn't.
No,
So,
they're horrible.
and I'm directing that to Russellville and Pine Bluff, and I can certainly
Too
speak.
late for Pine Bluff.
Right. Well, I can certainly point to Mississippi. I remember when that all took place, and I'll tell you the story about Sugar Ditch. We've talked about it before.
Yeah.
And where are those people now? It didn't save
Well,
them.
like I said,
You know.
it doesn't trickle down as they make you believe.
No, it does
I
not.
mean, all the information said that it doesn't trickle down. And the one thing I'll have to compliment Lil Rock on is that we said no to the casino. I have to give him a compliment for that.
Well,
Even though it probably would have thrived in a city like ours.
can you save your comments until we
Okay,
get to
my
that?
bad. My bad. My
See what
bad.
I say
was
about you?
good. It was getting
You
good.
just start your show in the middle of the show. You know.
Oh, that's what he's talking
You know.
Bet, player. I'll meet you outside after the show. You always trying to pick.
No, we gonna let it get there.
He always trying to pick.
I'm
I'll
just
support
saying.
it, y'all,
Okay.
so y'all can see it.
I'm just saying. All right,
Yeah,
so
she gonna be fun.
we need to do black facts.
Black fact.
Keisha,
Not
if-
black
if-
facts. It's black fact. You only doing one.
Keisha, if you don't know,
It's not plural.
Robert,
It's singular.
we've got guests. Okay,
No,
you
you already
able
took a
to-
shot at me earlier.
I noticed
It's
you.
on,
I
boy.
noticed you wore a suit and coat today.
And
so-
he has nice shoes on.
He does.
Yeah.
That's 2 days in a row. And see, and I thought you were dressing up for me yesterday,
My
but apparently
favorite
not.
color, brown.
Golly. Robert, you look, you know, if I were a woman, if I were a woman, I'd date you.
I'll pass. That's dirty, Dave. If I was a woman, I'd date you. Yeah, it's like me saying, you know what, man? If I was a woman, I'd date you.
Hey, I already chose you, bro. I
My
already
big,
chose you.
my big 6'5",
Yeah,
yeah, I'd
I
date you,
Ain't
Dave.
nothing wrong with the big
Is he
tall.
too short?
Hey, big tall women need love too. You know.
Yeah, so when they have big hands,
I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done with, as a matter of fact, I'm done with both of you.
Yeah. Okay.
well.
All right. So will y'all be done so I can do black facts?
yes.
Oh. So you made me hit the wrong button.
You know you need to hit that one because it's about to get real up in here. That is wrong. Thank you for the compliment, Keisha.
All right, so today's black fact is pretty interesting. I didn't really know about this until I saw this story. That before Uber there was a company called Jitney. The current battle between cabbies who pull a meter and upstarts for book fares via a smartphone is an action-packed taxi drama long ran in the Chicago streets. Decades before Uber and Lyft, taxis that operated outside of municipal regulations were called jitneys. named for a slang expression for a nickel, the original fare. While many cities had jitney cabs, in Chicago, the phrase from most of the 20th century referred to cars that worked the South Side and operated like buses on a set route. Did y'all know that?
I didn't. I heard that before, but I thought it was called gypsy.
You know what? And I heard jitney too as a
I heard
kid growing
gypsy.
up because I had relatives going back from Chicago.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize this. I read the story last night. So basically, this is a story about black people having their own cab companies.
Put us out of business.
And again, great idea, moved us out of business. But they were called jitneys. And as I read this story, my brother's father was from Chicago.
Okay.
And I remember as a kid him talking about when I get home catching the jitney. You know, and
From the airport.
yeah, from the airport apparently. So I thought it was a neat story that we as black people really pioneered, you know, Uber and Lyft,
Uber and Lyft, yeah.
and
Yeah, we're not getting a commission.
and we ain't getting
No
a penny
royalty.
off of
No
it.
royalty.
So. But it makes sense when you think about it because back then you couldn't ride the bus, okay, and in all likelihood you couldn't catch a taxi. You didn't catch taxis, so you had to have a way, just like they had the green books, where you had to have places know where you could go and stay when you traveled on the road. You had to have transportation, and jitneys were instrumental in taking out people around. So again, great Black History fact. It's a short one, but I wanted to talk about that one real fast because I just thought it was a need to let people know that when you're sitting out here thinking that you can't get anything done, black people started just about all of this stuff for
Yeah,
us.
we had to, because we had to.
Yeah, we
Well,
were the necessity is the mother of an invention.
We are the true descendants. Everything derived from us. So yeah, there you go. Well, everything derived from you. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, that's from the
It
story.
did.
The story we read the other
Mother
day.
Earth.
Well, you know, every piece of DNA, they've traced it back to Botswana. One black woman.
But you
Right.
know who's gonna play her in the movie, right?
Uh,
Gwyneth
What
Paltrow.
movie?
Gwyneth Paltrow?
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was going to be
The
Sandra
South
Bullock.
African- What's the name of the movie? I'm trying to remember. I know I heard
It's not
that
a
she was
movie.
going to be. Oh, okay. It better not be. Put my glasses on so I can look it up. Let me write this down. What's her name?
Robert has a strange way.
We're
He
not
wasn't
doing
saying-
that.
No. But which reminds me,
I can play her.
have y'all heard this controversy about Harriet, the story of Harriet Tubman, and black people are mad because they chose a woman from Great Britain, a black woman from Great Britain, to play the lead role, and a lot of so-called woke folks,
Okay.
we're going to get into them here in a moment,
Okay.
are boycotting the movie or talking about the movie and saying they're not going to go. Have y'all heard
I
this?
have not. I have not. That's the first I've heard of.
Well, there are a lot when they first started talking about in late summer that it was going to debut. A lot of black folks came out and were mad because they didn't think a British black woman, could play Harriet Tubman. So they immediately launched a boycott. By the way, this movie is directed and written by, guess what? A black woman
Okay.
here in America. Okay. And my argument then, and my argument now, and it's not even an argument as far as I'm concerned, it's a fact. Black people all over this world, regardless of where you live today, was affected by racism, white supremacy, and colonialism. Okay? So it does not matter whether she's black from Britain or she's black from Birmingham. The fact of the matter is that none of us have a piece of who only knows who can portray who in a black movie. Again, that's stupidity. That is white supremacy
Ignorance.
working on your mind in reverse order to make you criticize anyone black. The only thing you should have been saying is
See,
why
it's-
haven't
it's
they did
people
this
like
movie
you.
before?
It's people like you. That's why we got all these other folks in our protected class. I'm done with you, Dave.
What you mean?
Done with you.
What are you talking about?
Because this is
No.
the very reason we got everybody in the protected class now. Black folks used to be the only ones in the protected class. We were in a protected class for a reason. You know why we're in a protected class, right? Because we endured.
What does that
the
have to
injustice.
do
Are you
with
gonna
what I
listen or
just
not?
said?
Are you gonna listen or not?
I'm trying.
Okay,
I'm
go
trying to
ahead,
get it.
Robert.
Listen.
Gosh.
Because see, when you start,
Just because it's Friday.
when you ease up on one piece, then you might as well ease up on all the others. And my point to you is that at first, blacks were the only protected class. That's because we went through slavery. We went through Jim Crow. That was all on us. That's why we were included in the protected class. Had nothing to do with anything else. We were in that protected class because of because of the 300 years of abuse we've been taking in this country. That's what made us a protected
So
class.
you don't-
right? Hold on. Now you got gays in the protected class. You got whoever else. Everybody in the protected class. If somebody want to walk up and say, you know what, my toe hurt, let's put them in the protected class too. Everybody who has a toe ache, we'll put them in with the black folks. Let's lump them all in there together. So when you start talking about we can't do
If I
that.
could see his gestures, it would be great.
Whatever.
Go ahead.
But the point is yeah, I get those people. I get them having a little. I mean, is it a big deal to me? Nah. But to me, it's just like it's just like little pieces.
So are you saying that black people in London and Europe didn't experience bigotry?
They
and
didn't
racism?
over here. They didn't right here.
But they did over there.
It doesn't
I wasn't
matter.
over there. I was right here.
It don't matter where they experienced it. They still experienced it.
Yeah.
See, that's how they separate us.
Don't do that to me.
Yes,
Don't
it
do that to me.
is.
Don't do that to me.
You're a black Brit. You don't
Don't do that
understand
to me.
black
Don't do that to me.
Americans.
If
Okay.
anyone knew what testosterone smelled like, I do right now. I'm just saying. It's strong right now. If you can see it.
That
I
ain't
don't think
me.
it
I
comes
took
from
a
your
shower.
underarms. It comes from another
I
place.
took a shower.
It isn't under your arms. It's from another place.
I took a shower.
I don't testosterone on Fridays.
Wow. You do. You definitely do. Okay, look.
None on Fridays.
Unfortunately,
You agree.
people
Thank
of
you.
dark brown skin pigment, I won't say black because sometimes, I mean, no one else is referred to as a skin tone or a color like a freaking crayon in anywhere else in the world. Okay? Chinese people are not referred to as yellow as their nationality. So anyway, unfortunately, they were treated almost the same as, matter of fact, I just put this in my book. They were treated almost the same as we were. America is different because of the way they did slavery with us. Because slavery was in, a lot of countries, a lot of continents, because Africa has tons of countries. But they made slavery so brutal and so ugly, and then it didn't stop. After the slavery, there were more suppression and laws, and it still is, but they have the same thing in Australia where they kill tons of Aboriginals. These
Yes, they
people,
did.
the problem is we are disconnected, and we think we're disconnected, and we really are not.
Right.
But anyway, to respond to
She just made my point, Robert.
okay, the uproar, I kind of made both of y'all's points, but the uproar in the whole movie and if those people, that group of people, were able to be sponsored and go to Great Britain, and the black people there could tell them their history and the way they've experienced racism and still experiencing it, maybe then there would be a connect.
Right, and and that's an excellent point, and that's why I think every black person at some point, and I know it'll never happen, but we ought to be able to take a trip to, not in other parts of the world, to Africa, to Great Britain, where there's concentrations of black folks to see that at the end of the day, you're still a nigga to all of them.
Y'all, that's so good.
To all of them.
So what if this is a little petty. I'm just hypothetically speaking, what if you're a black man? Okay. Right?
I am, by the way. Thank you.
Okay.
And by the way, Ghana is having a repatriation that you can go to Ghana right now.
They are.
And they will give you land. I've really been thinking
I
about it.
attended their, I believe it was an independence.
How much land they giving? Can I
It
build
was
some houses on
It's a certain amount of acres, and then there are some restrictions. I think. But I attended their independence with a cousin of mine, Dwight Ware. He travels there a lot, and he took me to that event. It was amazing. But I just say, you said you're still a nigga, right? excuse me. It's something about that word, I guess. If you're a black man and you, I guess, are with a white woman for a long time, and after that long time, you still feel like a nigga, you didn't get much from it. Do you think that would result in bitterness?
Dave?
What in the world? No, that was a question for both of you. I'm just
Where'd that come?
I mean,
Where'd that question come from?
Well, yeah, Dave.
no, okay.
Where'd that
Hey, this
question
is
come
a
from?
talk show, Dave. And don't you always tell me? Hey, this is a talk show. Talk, Dave.
I had a conversation with someone over the weekend,
Oh.
but it's like sometimes it's like there are incentives to acting white, being with the white crowd, and you get your mate has good credit, you get businesses built from you get connections, but after a long time, you kind of didn't get all of that. Would you feel slighted?
I don't know, because I like me a black sister, so I can't answer that question.
That's what's up. That's
I'm
what's
just, I will never live that life, so,
up. Black of the berry, sweet the juice on
you know,
Dave.
That's true.
I like me sisters, so I'll never live that life, but, it's kind of like some of them when they are, I've read stories as of late where black women who have married white men have gotten into arguments and the N-word has slipped, or I even read a story where a black woman was making love to her white husband and he called her his black wench,
Right.
she was upset. He was trying to say they were role playing. So, I mean,
My brother.
you have to role playing and she's a wench, right? But the point is that I'll be honest. I can't answer that question because I'll never be in that particular situation. I just won't. Robert, your turn.
Okay, can you please read back the question, Alex?
If you, as a black man,
Okay.
happen to be with a white woman for a very long time, more than 15 years, right?
More than 15, okay. Okay, more than 15.
And say that it stopped, it's over, right?
Okay.
And in that more than 15 years, you really didn't benefit from it, and you still are a nigga. You didn't benefit with any credit, you didn't benefit with any money, you're left with less than what you had. Do you think that will result in bitterness because of that situation?
Yeah, they were resulting business regardless of what color she is. I'm gonna leave with less than what I have. I mean, I'm gonna be bitter. You're gonna be, as a man anyway. I think you'd be bitter. Well, I have to take that back. It depends on how much you want to get away.
Right.
Sometimes it's worth giving up everything and starting over to get the hell away.
That's true. But do you
Sometimes
think
it's
that
worth it, right?
because
I done did that with sisters. Baby, I got to go.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Feet don't fail me now. Feet don't fail me now.
Stick a fork in me. I'm
I'm
out. I'm out.
saying it's something to think about. It's like a lot you sacrifice. You sacrifice more, I think, being in an interracial relationship, even though some people accept it. You do have to deal with people looking at you differently or the family dynamic. And it's like, do you, at the end, it's like, man, I put up with all of that. And I didn't even get a house or half of something.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think relationships are hard, period.
Yes, they are.
And then when you add different dynamics to it, I think that makes them even harder. I mean, I give kudos to brothers who date white women and white women and black and sisters who date white men. Excuse me. I know that is a struggle. Just because the racial dynamics. I mean, you wouldn't feel. I mean, if they use the N-word once, I mean that just makes everything crazy, right?
Kinda happened to me.
Really?
I wasn't
Did he
dating him, but
Did he say he called you the N-word?
he actually called me and everyone in my house that.
Really?
He, I guess, had a crush on me. There was some psychological
when did they have his
things that happened. Well, he just got out of jail, I think, so he was protected. But
Oh, really?
the thing, I'm a businesswoman, and so my family was like, "Oh no, you're not catching the charge. Okay, let us do that." So,
Yeah.
I mean, he was angry because I was like, get away from my house, stop coming over here, whatever. And
So you
he
gave
was
it a
like,
try that just didn't work out.
No, it wasn't a try. It was really, hanging out with my friends and stuff at the house, and I'm like, I like you, Kesha, and then went from there. I'm like, look, you too young for me or whatever. Wouldn't give up. I think you said everything originates from us.
Right.
I told him, I was like, I think you're connecting to your mother.
His mother wasn't black?
No, the mother of all.
You missed that.
I did miss that.
She did yeah.
Robert, maybe your jacket is too tight.
No, I don't think it's too tight.
Oh,
it's
that.
okay.
See,
What?
you.
I am so honest.
Dude,
my goodness. Sometimes my honesty to myself. But yeah,
That's right. You're gonna be perfect on this show.
You are. Because we're going to get you a lot.
I can't just lie. I'm just saying, but
We're going to get you a lot.
yeah, he had mommy issues. It's a lot with and like you said, those dynamics in relationships. If they
they're
have
tough.
issues with their moms and dads, woo. So that's what that was. He was like, you N-words in there chilling and I can't come in there. And I think my friend was behind me and grabbed me by my jacket because I reached for him to like grab his whole face. It was just like an impulse. Because that had never happened to me before.
Really? Nobody ever called you in here before?
Not a white person
Really?
to my face.
Where's you there? You grew up in Arkansas?
No, well, I left and went to Texas where they.
That's even
Oh,
worse.
that's even
No,
worse.
it's
They should
not.
called you a bunch of them down there.
I'm gonna tell you, in Dallas, I think they're so.
They use the
used
N-word for
to-
breakfast down there.
No, they're so.
When they
used
call you order, they be
to-
like, nigga, 6?
No, I didn't deal. But there was a difference. Being there, I didn't see like the white people in Walmart trying to push you over with their buggy like here.
Really?
Yeah, and so it was like they're so used to other cultures in Dallas now because you have
They
a lot
got
of
yours.
Africans. Right, you have a lot of people from Malaysia or Mexico and everywhere, right?
And plus, the state that houses Dallas Cowboys cannot be racist. Just cannot.
Now
happen.
there probably are some there are some racists,
Are you
but like
listening?
my
Ignore comment? She
son.
thinks you ignore my comment.
No, I'm
She's
just saying,
smart
there
to
are
ignore
some
your
racists.
stupid comment.
I was in Dallas for almost 20 years.
Okay. All right, cool.
I know the Mavericks and I know the Cowboys. I know them.
Get your cowboy on. Get your cowboy on.
Yeah.
just
Whatever.
saying.
Well, is that why you wore that blue shirt again?
Why you
His
hating on a blue
pants
shirt?
kind of matched the
He had cowboy colors on yesterday. Ride him,
Down, baby.
ride him, big boy.
Down, baby.
Anyway, so
We going outside. We going outside.
so we were
Why you taking shots at me today?
it's Friday, man. It's Friday. So,
Catch me
but we before we went down that weird path that I don't know why we.
A Virgo
You
will
know.
do that too.
Oh God, no wonder. Anyway, what have we done?
That's right.
I want to get back to this thing with your because your woke folks and things.
All right, yeah.
like
Give me
that.
that, man. Give me that.
So I think we got some audio from your president, so you can hear what he says about this. Hang on a minute. Let's see if we can get it playing here. They're gonna try to play us a little commercial as they always do before they end. So
So you're going to cue it up when the
so-
commercial's over.
here we go.
There's never compromised, and you're always politically woke and all that stuff. You should get over that quickly. The world is messy. There are ambiguities. People who do really good stuff have flaws. People who you are fighting may love their kids. And share certain things with you. And I think that one danger I see among young people, particularly on college campuses, Malia and I talk about this. Yara goes to school with my daughter. But I do get a sense sometimes now among certain young people, and this is accelerated by social media, there is this sense sometimes of the way of me making change is to be as judgmental as possible about other people. And that's enough. Like if I tweet or hashtag about how you didn't do something right or used the wrong verb, or then I can sit back and feel pretty good about myself. Because man, you see how woke I was? I called you out. Let me get on TV, watch my show, watch Grownish. That's not activism. That's not bringing about change. If all you're doing is casting stones, you're probably not going to get that far. That's easy to do.
I'm sorry, we
So-
weren't there.
so
I thought
y'all-
we were in the audience.
Yeah, my bad.
I was wondering where that extra
like it.
clapping was
I
coming
like
from.
it.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Ladies first. That was
Oh.
so beautiful. You saw
Yeah,
that
go ahead.
automatically happen.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well,
Did I tell you I like your
did-
eyebrows, by the way?
Eyebrows. Oh, thank you.
I
Thank
like
you.
your
Hey,
eyebrows.
why don't you get a room, please?
No,
Not for eyebrows.
we don't need a room.
There you go.
Jeez.
We don't have to get rooms.
There you
now.
go.
Let me stop. See, Virgos, we'll take it there. Don't do that.
Mhm.
Back to what we were saying. He likes to distract you, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. He's good at that.
Okay. I read about this before, you played the audio, and I like what he's saying. The fact that he is not afraid to call my woke people out. You have to pay attention to the part where he said that's not activism. This is the big part. This isn't about you're not woke. He didn't say you're not woke. There's no such thing as not being woke. He did not say that. He said that's not activism. And I was actually on a conference call like last week about this. Okay? I mean, you have a
Wait a minute. You want to call by
conference
somebody else
call.
last week?
What? This is an international conference
I
call.
don't care. You
Not
cheating on
about
us
this.
already?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay. You better
It
get it together
was a
now.
conference call. It was a conference call. We were discussing, a lot of the things that have happened to people of our skin tone. I like to say of our skin tone because that unifies us. Okay, everywhere should there be a world action or a class action lawsuit about those things, etc. And a lot of people want to get on Facebook only and say they're conscious, they're woke. That's all they do. They post, they judge other people, not just people of different skin tone, but people that are the same skin tone as them. Oh,
Yep.
she got a perm, she ain't conscious. Oh, she eat pork or she eats meat, she ain't conscious.
I like me
It's a
some
big
ribs,
distraction. It's a big distraction. And I always counter those things like, what do you do? I list what I do in the community. Whether or not I believe in Jesus, Buddha, Yahweh, Allah, whether or not I'm Moorish American or I'm a Christian or whatever, this is what I'm doing. So activism is getting involved. Raising politicians instead of ball players, black folks.
Hey, raising scientists and engineers and doctors.
Raising leaders instead of basketball players.
I agree with you.
mean, come on.
Robert?
We got to infiltrate the system.
I'm just gonna say what I always say, and I'm not gonna deviate. I'm just gonna be very straightforward.
Robert,
I hope y'all can take it.
This is a talk show.
I hope y'all can take it.
Okay.
You hope we can
I
take
hope
it.
y'all can take it.
What does
Okay.
that mean?
Being woke is a verb. Being woke, you gotta have action. So you ain't woke if you just running your damn mouth. You gotta be doing something. And like our president said, I ain't talking about checking boxes and correcting spelling. I'm talking about out here in the community making something happen. So that's it for me. Being woke is not. I think people have misunderstood what woke is all about.
Well,
Some people say being woke is just being conscious. For me, being woke, if you're woke, if you're woke, then you see the injustice going on in our community.
and you work to fix
You
it.
working to
It
fix
makes
it. That's
you do
being
something.
woke. Being woke, if you woke and just laying in the bed, okay, you in bed, you
You
still
might as
ain't
well go
woke.
back to sleep.
Exactly. You gotta be woke. If
Go
you
back
woke,
to
you
sleep.
doing something. So that's it for me. I don't trip with people when they talk about their woke. And plus, that's not my fight. I'll let y'all fight them on that. Because to me, it doesn't make any sense. Because if you gotta tell somebody you woke,
Right.
your ass ain't woke.
Right.
It's just that simple. Okay, I'm done. Now, Dave, please, Dave.
That was concisely put. I'm proud of you. Usually you drone
I
on,
love these kind of moments.
So
I can feel it.
can you feel the love tonight?
I can.
Yeah, wait
So,
for this show. Okay.
But and we've talked about this before, and that's why when I hear people like the American descendants of slavery talk about they're woke, yet they're telling black people not to vote. You're not woke,
Hold on, player. Yeah, he trying to take shots. Now we about to go at it. You ready? 'Cause listen,
Are you part of the American
I'm
descendants of
definitely-
slavery? Did I interrupt you when you had your little soliloquy?
Little.
and call it little.
Is your soliloquy little?
I guess so.
I don't know.
Hold up.
I'm just saying.
Slap me,
You know,
I guess so.
your little soliloquy. When you was on your little perch, I ain't say nothing.
Well, my soliloquy
Okay.
ain't little, so.
may I?
Yes, sir.
Please.
Okay, now.
Please continue.
Okay, thank you. Now,
Dave, by the way,
now,
if
Kesha.
you were a girl, if I were a girl, I'd go out with you.
Gee, thanks. I think. By the way, Kesha, just
Jesus.
remember that I have the buttons over here to turn your mic on and off. Okay, I just thought I'd throw.
That's what you call a hater right there. Keisha, if you don't be nice to me, I'm gonna cut you off.
I wasn't even worried I would even go there.
But anyway, can I say what I need to say here?
Yes. Please
Okay.
continue, David.
Okay. What I'm simply saying is this, and I'm echoing what you all are saying. You're exactly right, Robert. Woke is a verb. A verb means action. So what are you doing to be woke? And look, not to throw shade on anybody, but we had a few of those millenniums on the show at one point who thought they were woke, but that's all they were walking around. They weren't conscious, and then got angry because you challenged them on what are you doing with your wokeness.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So what these millennials, and look, I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not a huge fan of Barack Obama because of what he didn't do for the black community.
Yeah.
I'm going to be real with you.
I agree.
But he's on point with this.
Right.
Because when you go back and you look at if only 3,000 more people, assuming that they all would have voted Democratic for Hillary, Donald Trump wouldn't be in office today. And what annoys me more than anything right now is you have a lot of these millennials running around, number one, criticizing the people of the 60s and what they did or what they didn't do. Now, we can all sit in, on Monday Morning Quarterback, what should have been done during the 60s. But at the time, you have to understand the time and realize that they did what they thought was doing right. So what you do is you go back, you've benefited from those gains. You go back and fix or continue the struggle which they started and created. Today, these young millennials don't have a clue. They don't want to, and then they want to sit back and criticize people of my generation and say, well, you shouldn't have you should have stayed segregated, or you should have integrated schools, or I ain't gonna vote because nobody's gonna benefit me. Well, that's stupidity. Because what's going to happen is they're going to continue to vote whether you don't or not. And while you're with your dashiki on and your afros and smoking your blunts and thinking you cool, they're going to be taking this country away from you. So I totally agree. That's not what Barack Obama said, but that's what Barack Obama said. Okay? So if y'all are so wedded and believe in what President Obama said, then take his words to heart and start making changes. Get out here and get active. You see something that needs to be changed, get involved. Get your butt down to the city board meetings. All of those things that can initiate change, you can do it instead of sitting back and criticizing why it's not being done or people that are out there trying to do some make a difference.
You and I always differ in this regard, and the reason we differ is based solely on the fact that I see it a different way, right? And the way I see it, part of what you said I totally agree with. But the larger part I can't agree with. Because here we are, two things. Let me take the first thing. As far as millennials, I think we have a responsibility to educate them or empower them with the information we have.
I agree.
And what we're seeing now is, I mean, think about it. The day they're laying John Walker to rest, and there's no John Walker replacement, even though there could never be one. But maybe there's somebody that John Walker said, you know what, this guy here, when I pass on, is going to be the guy who continues my work or whatever, right? And so, what we've done is that we haven't done the same thing that others have done in the past, right? We haven't created a successor to follow thereafter. And so I think in the black community, we do vote. And unfortunately, we vote. We get very little for our vote. And yet and still we keep voting. And I think it is crazy to keep telling people to go vote, Dave. Now, again, if we can create if we can come up with an agenda of issues that impact us, then yeah, I think we definitely push people to vote. Because what happens is you got a handful of black folks who come up and say, "Hey, I'm going to support
Tracy Steele.
Puff the Magic Dragon."
Who?
Tracy Steele.
Yeah, she want to throw her guy out there, but no, I'm talking about somebody white. They'll say we want to support Puff the Magic Dragon.
I think Puff was green. Though.
Well, whatever.
It's about the
I used to
same.
love Puff the Magic
White and
Dragon.
Yeah,
green.
whatever.
Puff the Magic Dragon
So they say we want to support Puff.
lives by the sea.
It is about the same.
What did y'all smoke before I got here?
Oh, okay, no, I don't
I
smoke
hate that
anything.
y'all.
I like Puff.
I
I like
had
Puff.
a flashback.
That was one of my
Was it
favorite.
Ween?
Yeah, that was one of my favorite little childhood songs. I used to cry when I'd sing Puff. I did it.
Oh my
I did
God,
it.
I can't. You can't do this to me. I'm too visual.
You are sick. No, but again, we always
Okay,
get
so
somebody.
you want to support Puff?
Yeah, so
And-
when somebody comes out and tells us we should support Puff the Magic Dragon, and the reason we're supporting him is because they know him and they trust him and they feel that he'll do a great job. And usually, in some cases, that could be true. He gets better to play violin music. He really
think
irritates
so.
me. Yeah, he's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. That's all right. Though. Go ahead. Play.
No, I'm just do make your comment. Don't be
And
worrying
that-
about.
and I'm done.
I'm over here producing over
That's
here.
it, man. I'm done.
Gosh, you know,
I'm done.
I'm over here producing.
Oh my! Well, something that you can do if you want to do something is attend an event this Sunday, and it has something to do with a local politician named Tracy Steele, who will be making change in the city of North Little Rock. That would be great to do. Hi. Oh, lives by the sea. Oh yeah, it's so tranquil. I wonder who that is singing that. Oh my God, I can't.
I don't know. I don't know what to do right now.
See, it's making you feel something.
Look at you, kind of tearing up, aren't you?
No. I'm thinking, where the hell am I? And what did you smoke before I got here? And why did you smoke that with me? I'm thinking, what's going on? I mean, what are you doing?
They had to be smoking something to make that damn song. Woo, that's
He was serious
Hey,
the whole song.
yeah, Peter, Paul, and Mary. Yeah, yeah. They came out of the. They sung at
goodness.
Woodstock, so you know they were smoking.
They were
something.
smoking. No, they were doing heroin.
Yeah,
They were doing acid.
Yeah.
They were
Puff
doing
the
acid.
Magic Dragon is
Yeah.
probably about drugs.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
you know, without a doubt.
The
it is.
song, oh my goodness. Okay.
What do you-
Wow.
I'm looking at the words because
Yeah.
I'm sure it's about
Yeah.
drugs. I mean,
I think it is.
without a doubt, it's probably about drugs.
But back to your point, Robert. Once again, you have misconstrued what I say about voting. Okay. When I talk about voting, I'm talking about an informed vote. Black people have never been taught to vote.
So you saying black folks vote in the block? Black folk, we couldn't
Wait a
even
minute.
decide if
The-
we
the-
could.
wait a
If they
minute.
had three
Sir,
bathrooms,
sir,
if
sir.
they had three bathrooms
Okay.
and one said men, women, and other,
Testosterone
black
is on the left
folk,
side right now.
black folk would be standing there going, "Okay, y'all, we going in the other." He's like, "Nah, we going in the men's. Nah, we going in the women's." We couldn't even decide which bathroom to go in. Stop.
Can I finish my point?
Sure, please.
Okay. Although I agree that's part of the problem is the division in the black people, but the reason that is because of white supremacy. The part, if we're going to be successful as a black community, then we have to re-educate ourselves. So that includes re-educating ourselves on voting. That means how to vote. All we've ever heard is, go vote because somebody died for your right to vote. Well, what does that mean? And if you go and just vote and you don't make an informed vote, it still does you no good. And then psychologically, it affects you where you say, well, I voted, but I didn't get anything done with it. But if you're taught how to vote, where you do vote on specific issues, specific candidates, and vote in blocks, when the election season comes around, they can come and address us specifically and beg for our votes, as opposed to not even concerned about our votes, then that's what I mean about voting. With voting comes education. The same with spending your dollar. Every time you spend your dollar, you're voting for that company. Every time, no matter where you go, every time you spend a dollar, that dollar is a vote. Okay? And long as you're uneducated about how you spend your dollars, your vote, then we're going to continue to suffer. That's what I'm saying. So don't you ever, as long as you are a black man,
Finger is in the air.
sit over there and misconstrue what I've said, because I've explained this over and over and over and over and over again.
And you are still not explaining it correctly. So,
That's
so-
an opinion.
so-
you'd like to meet me outside?
I think that's an opinion.
Look at her. She's like, I
I'm
think
just
that's an
saying.
opinion.
Yeah, not
Okay,
explaining
don't y'all
correctly.
start fighting.
An
I think
opinion.
that's an opinion.
I like both.
You can't like both.
I
You gotta
can.
pick one. You
A
can't like
Virgo
both.
can like both at the
No,
same time.
no, it ain't gonna
Okay?
happen.
Now,
Well, I did know a Virgo. No, that's another story.
so I think with education, learning how to vote, also should come a policy. We need to learn about policy because, as it stands, if every black person in the state of Arkansas votes for a Democratic governor or the governor they like, they probably will not win the vote. And you have things such as zoning, gerrymandering, and stuff like that that excludes your vote. Like most of the black people in the state are in Pulaski County. So Pulaski County counts for 1 point. You see what I'm saying? Instead of just all numbers. And so that policy can be changed. We don't think like that. We don't think we need to get with the state reps and we need to get with other people and attorneys to make this fair. We just think we need to go vote. So there are policies that need to be changed as well, such as the local elections now. They don't have the 50-50 rule. They changed that because of the way they took the last election from not just Tracy Steele, a lot of other politicians nationwide and everything. So, yeah, it's there are a few factors that play into that. I personally vote, though.
By the way, while Barack was making news, Michelle was making news by saying that, telling white folks that, let me see what it says. She says, they are still running from us with white flight.
There's some other good stuff.
And you know, well, let me just read a quote. I was trying. I thought we had some audio of her, but we don't.
No audio on that one. Where was she at?
She was
It was the same.
It was the same.
same
They had a
same
meeting on
conference.
youth conference.
Yeah.
In Chicago? DC?
Yeah, this was the Obama Foundation Summit in Chicago, Illinois,
Okay.
and she was there hawking her book, Becoming. And she said, upstanding families like ours who were doing everything we're supposed to do and better, as we moved in, white folks moved out because they were afraid of what our families represented. I always stop there when I talk about this out in the world because I want to remind white folks that y'all were running from us. This family, with all of the values you read about, you ran from us and you're still running. We're no different from the immigrant families moving in. The families that are coming from other places to try to do better, but because we can so easily wash over who we really were because of the color of our skin, because of the texture of our hair. That's what divides countries. Artificial things that don't even touch on the values of people, on the values people bring to life. I feel a sense of injustice. You know, this when you're young, you know people are running from you. So
She said something about we are the best of what you fear or something like. Oh, it was good. I think it was at the end of her speech. And I'm sure I haven't seen it, but I'm sure her hair was so pretty. I'm just saying her hair is always so bad to the bone.
We've
I'm
never had this perspective.
I will always be a hairstylist. I mean, I can't help it.
okay.
Yeah, but ooh, her hair just.
What
I mean,
do
you
her
can't
nails
move.
look like?
Nails are natural.
Okay.
And you know, she bad to the bone anyway. She did,
Okay.
y'all didn't see those thigh boots she wore that time. I'm just saying. Ooh, it was like $5,000. Oh, okay, but see back to the Back to when I say
What have
she
we,
called some
Robert?
people
What
out.
what have we done?
A lot.
But we're arguing a different perspective.
What
The
have we
hair
done?
is gorgeous.
Well,
They hate it though. She up there talking and moving, and that hair is just giving them the blues. I'm saying, but y'all, she called some people out. I love it. And just imagine, she was talking to young people. She was talking to young people who will be empowered soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Those boots on the bottom. Okay, Dave.
well, I thought you were going to comment on Michelle.
No, I don't have
He
anything to say
did.
about that one.
Well, I mean, I understand.
I have
She's,
boots on.
but
I
see,
have thigh boots.
see, here's,
These are Uggs. See, they come up there really warm. What else? I can get distracted. So
I think we've made a mistake.
he doesn't.
Robert, don't.
Hey, he was looking at everything. He's like,
don't.
okay, boo. Oh my God, I forgot he gets distracted easily. I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay.
Don't humor
I
her,
usually
Robert.
keep my distractions
Stop.
in my head. But
Oh, we got
Boots was like boots. He's
Right.
your boots now. Yeah. Okay.
two ADHD talk
There
hosts
was-
just
yeah.
that didn't work.
Yep.
Gosh,
Yep.
Lord have mercy.
That's true.
I know you and Keisha. I don't know what I'm gonna do with y'all.
Hey,
Wow.
I'll admit I got 13 personalities. Hey, so whatever.
Talk shows. Like what?
Exactly. You know, so,
That was a good one. That was a good one. You gotta get this down. You know, you gonna leave me hanging on.
It's been good.
Where's
We
that
love
mic
support each
button?
other. Okay.
Where's that
Oh
mic button?
man. Okay. All right. No, but I thought it was good. But you know, I don't think it really. I think at some point, some things that we talk about, they become less significant.
Why weren't they saying this when they were in office?
Well, they couldn't. You had to get reelected. But
Why weren't they saying it in the last term of office?
You still couldn't say it then.
Why
Because you
not?
were still
Yeah.
trying. Yeah, it was still you were still trying to get whatever modicum of whatever you're trying to get done. And you want to make sure you get all your book deals lined up first. You don't want to get too black before you get up out of there. You can get black after. You can't get black while. Yeah, I mean they played the game. Kudos to them. Way to go, y'all.
I
But
think that's what they
the
do.
thing is that I think I'm really hoping that Obama and Michelle and Barack, I'm hoping, right, that after this, they really do some stuff that's impactful in the black community. I hope so. That is my
I
hope and my
think they
desire.
have been just a lot of it has been centered in Chicago.
Well, they're not even back in Chicago yet, are they? Because I know they stayed in D.C.
I think
so
the
she could
foundation
finish
benefits it a
school.
lot.
Well, their kids,
Okay.
no, who finished school?
Remember that they had one kid still.
No, she's out. She's in
out
college
school
now.
She's in
Yeah,
college
she's in
now,
college.
okay. So
They
maybe-
remember they just bought a home on Martha's Vineyard.
So they're in New York. See, this is the thing. You don't even go back. To
But
the
they,
city.
but no, just let me finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
They still have a home in Hyde Park.
Do they live in that home in Hyde
They
Park?
live in both houses. They live like white folks now. They have a summer
I wanna
home
live.
and a winter home.
So when
Okay.
they get, so they ain't never in Chicago because it's when in
So,
Chicago you're
but
around.
the reason I know that my daughter lives in Hyde Park around the corner from them, so that's
Okay.
why.
Oh, she's big time like that.
Yeah, all right, what can I say?
When you going up to visit, so you can hang with
I can
Obama.
visit instead of you.
Well, I mean, I go to Chicago often. I just don't go during this time of the year.
I would like to go. I want to go out
Black
there again.
people.
October 31st through let's see, October 31st through through April 30th.
It's too cold.
You typically don't want to go to Chicago.
I don't.
You typically don't want to go. Let's see. Really, you might want to wait till May 31st.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm gonna be honest. You know,
All right.
I went. My daughter graduated from Rockefeller College, and got her master's there. And her graduation was May 13th,
All right, but hold on. When y'all get time,
and it was snowing.
when y'all get time, I need y'all to go and read the impact former president has on moving back to the city that he was elected from, because that's important. And people don't realize that. So if Obama didn't even go back to Chicago,
He
then
went back to Chicago.
No, player. I ain't talking about summer homing. If he ain't full time in Chicago, I give him a finger. I'm just straight
So
up.
the
Same thing I get at
impact-
Obama. Same thing I get at Clinton.
So what would the impact be?
The impact is
social
huge,
or
yeah.
Social,
policy?
Why do you
economic.
Think, why do you
Get
think
involved in
Texas?
policy?
Why do you think
Economically.
Texas became Texas?
Why?
Because they
Think about it.
stole the land from Mexico.
They did, but why?
It is important to have a sitting president
You're talking
If
about
you
the
have
Bushes.
the Bushes, if you have a former sitting president in your state, man, that's huge because everybody wants access to that president.
And you never see his butt.
You don't need to.
You never see him.
You don't need
His
to.
name is any of the Bushes.
You don't see the Clintons.
No. Well, you know what? I think Hillary was at the library.
When?
This was before she ran for president.
The Clintons have not been in Arkansas. Wait a minute. What did something happen
But
recently?
Hillary
What
Clinton's
Bill?
library.
I think Clinton has come. He's coming for John Walker's funeral. I think he
Really?
is.
Yeah.
But I understand the only thing
He's
that's
at events and stuff here.
right. He comes to
Most
events,
people
but they
don't
still
know.
live in New York.
Yeah.
I don't want to be here.
I don't
I
blame you.
wouldn't come back to Arkansas. Listen, did y'all see
Why?
Dolomite? They tell you why in the movie. Dolomite. My name is Dolomite. They tell you all about it. I didn't say it.
Have you
Dolomite
have
did
you
say-
seen have
I-
you seen
I have
Dolomite?
seen Dolomite.
Okay.
It was disappointing that he felt that way about Arkansas
It's,
because I love
wait a minute.
Arkansas.
Why was that disappointing?
It was disappointing.
He grew up in Arkansas. And then what's bad about it, he actually grew up in what you would call the armpit of Arkansas.
Yeah, he grew up
In Fort Smith, Arkansas. And during that time period when he was growing up,
It's a totally different ballgame. I get that, man. But I love Arkansas. I love Little Rock, and I love all the people, white and black, even the Hispanic people and the Chinese. Dave, don't you do it? I love everybody in my city, in my state. But I just want my state to be successful. I want my state to do some
I
stuff
do.
that
I
other
want it
folks
to be
ain't doing.
successful, but you know what? I have experienced it on a personal level, business level. There are a lot of people who are in power that will limit progression on every freaking scale, and that's in all cities. It's ridiculous. Let's get it. Tell me about Arkansas. I mean, because maybe I'm here now. Help me, because I don't feel it.
This dude right here.
Feel like
This dude
feel
right
it.
here. Him and his slow music. Keep on. I'm gonna play Dead Mr. President, and I ain't gonna play the clean version. I'm gonna let it just roll. Keep on.
President.
Keep on.
can't have any fun.
No, you know what he been doing? Every time I say something, I'm gonna play the slab music for you.
And how does that make you feel?
It really hurts my feelings.
Does it make you sad?
He turned it up. I think that's a little abusive.
What?
He is an abuser.
Well, if he told you it makes him sad and then you kind of rubbed it in, that might be.
No, it's kind of like reverse psychology. You hear it more so you can accept it, and then
From the abuser,
it doesn't
more abuse.
it doesn't grow on you.
Speaking of
You
abuse.
can walk past it.
Speaking of abuse, oh my goodness, this is my personal plug. I'm almost done with my book I told you about.
Okay.
It's called Invisabuse.
Okay.
Why I'm so conscious of abuse.
Can we talk about that after the break?
We can.
Jesus.
I like that music right there.
I picked it.
Good.
Yeah, I did.
What is the problem? Hey.
We got to take the top of the hour
I
break.
can't take it no more.
I think Cliff is on the line. We'll get to Cliff after the top of the hour break.
Cliff on?
Yeah, so we'll talk to him in just a few minutes. Thank God he's not here today. This would be a mess. But anyway, you're listening to Black Focus Radio.
Hey, Cliff said you lucky he not here.
Our issues, our solutions, our voices, right here on joynetradio.com. We'll be back in a moment. Get out.
About issues. I mean, it's black community.
So when are you going to be done with your book?
Honestly, this weekend.
Really? Who's going to edit it?
I'll let you proofread it. My professor, Mr. Bill Kenny,
Okay.
from Shorter College, he's from Ghana. That's how I know about it.
Okay. Do they speak English?
His accent is very thick.
I told you he's like,
Yeah.
he's like, that's what he speak English. I didn't do that for you. You don't even speak English.
Professor of literature and everything. Literature professor.
Okay. But
Gonna proofread it.
so what are you gonna do about publishing?
I'm gonna self-publish to get my ISBN number
Okay.
and go on promote it in different places.
So you're going to Los Angeles with us tonight in March?
I am, and I'm sending copies
The law
everybody. I'm
offices
talking
of
about
James
morning
F.
shows,
Swindoll
everything.
provides
It's
our
something that
clients
needs
the
to be talked about.
personal care and attention that
movement
larger
I
law
have
firms
reported
cannot
was
offer.
to-
Our experienced attorneys have brought hundreds of cases to verdict in state and federal court and recovered millions for our clients. If you or a loved one have been injured or have property able to help, do not hesitate to contact our firm anytime for a free attorney consultation. Call 1-800
Right.
848 1290. That's 1-800 848 1290. Or email inquiries at arkansas-personal-injury.com. Our law offices are centrally located at 212 Center Street in Little Rock. That's the law offices of James F. Swindoll.
You don't know me like
Personal
that.
injury
And I put
products
it back on
liability
your
attorney
leg
serving
and go up to
Arkansas
your
since
blood. You can
1977.
feel it. Like, how is that a small thing?
All of
Reported
Arkadelphia
to
and
the
Arkansas
president of
to
the
connect with a
school,
family-owned
Jerome
and
Reed,
operated center
acting like it's
in
nothing.
Clark County since 19.
Nothing. I didn't hear from him.
But I say that all the time is the dirty little secret in the black community is sexual abuse about women. Well, sexual abuse about kids. We don't talk about it. We all know we got an uncle or an aunt that when they come to the family reunion, don't you go up there and hug him. We all know that, but we don't talk about it. We know that Reverend Dr. Johnson, you know, is like that. Exactly. We don't talk about that. It is, I've been saying, because it got to a point, because I was married to a woman who had been sexually abused by an uncle. It got to a point where when I was out in the dating world, I would literally ask women, have you been sexually abused? And men, I would, through the conversation. Because, I mean, we're trying to get each other, and I would tell, because it was so traumatic for me in my marriage. It adversely affected our marriage. I would argue today that we'd probably still be married if it wasn't for that issue. Okay? It was that bad. Okay?
You think you guys are always up to something.
Right, but it's even more than that. It's a self-esteem issue on her part, and things of that nature. So, exactly.
I know.
So, my point being is that we have to address it, and I've been talking about it for years, that this is black people's dirty little secret.
You begin to sound like that old
No.
guy that lives down the street. Every time you walk on his yard, you walk by his yard, he's on the porch, he's got that little crooked finger, he's like, get off my
Right.
Join the weekly sports magazine every Saturday.
It happens to men more than you know, because we assume, and I talk about it all the time, 14 years old, I had a 21-year-old woman.
It was just totally illegal.
And totally illegal, but here I was thinking I was a man, but didn't realize that what it ended up, and I talk about this all the time, what it ended up doing for me is that a lot of the young ladies that I went to high school with, they weren't good enough for me. I missed out on a lot. Stop it, Robert. Okay? I missed out on a lot of women my age because I wanted an older woman.
Right. So mentally, you were not prepared for that.
No.
Emotionally mature enough.
Right, but you don't talk about it because people think that if it happens to a boy, oh, go and sow your oats, boy. And it affects the young boys just as bad as it does young women. So. Anyway, welcome back to the show. The second hour of the show. Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with us. We've got a caller, so let me make sure I close all these windows so we won't hear people talking. And I think it's Cliff. Hey, Cliff, how you doing? I was gonna say you better be Cliff. I'm gonna hang up on you. Well, I mean, we invited you. Cliff sent me a text message at 4:00 this morning saying, I'm coming. And I'm saying, Cliff, do you really have to tell me that? But he's on the way, and then he sends me another text message and said he's not coming.
I'm gonna call
And,
him.
so.
Hey, Cliff trying to get it together up there. Cliff, do your thing, brother. Do your thing. Make the money, make the moves, baby. Make the money, make the moves.
By the way, Cliff, you probably, well, you're already in your house buying stage, but you need to meet Kesha Cobb because she does a lot of things with helping people buy homes. Kesha, we want to talk about, before we get Cliff in here, let's talk about what you do, your business, and then let's talk about the book that we were talking about in the break, because I think it's something that needs to be talked about.
Okay. Well, hi, Cliff. I am Kesha Cobb.
You don't have to speak to
Everyone
Cliff.
else. I wanted to say hi.
Okay, go ahead.
In my Arkansas voice. Hi. I am the director of Sustainable Home here in Arkansas, and we promote home ownership both conventionally and non-conventionally, meaning you don't have to be left out in the cold or in an apartment because you don't qualify for a bank mortgage yet or at the time. So we help people to become homeowners in different ways, and we can guide them along the process if that's what's needed. We have a lot of partners and people who are helping us to make this happen. And the website is sustainablehome.info if you want to learn more. And that's what I'm here for. Building wealth and creating home.
And what about your book?
Okay, the book I'm so excited about is called Invisabuse. Invisabuse.
Okay.
Like the title.
Thank
Who's
you.
doing the cover?
I am. You know, I'm a graphic design artist. Well, I'm an artist, but
You like one of you're like a Jacqueline of all trades. Right?
kind of, yeah, with an afro.
That's good.
And
Well, maybe I should say Jamaica.
Can y'all get it wrong?
I told you we don't have to get.
Okay,
rules.
okay, fine. Can y'all just go to the house then? Jesus, y'all killing me. Okay.
Invisibuse is a phrase that I coined from, of course, the word invisible and abuse.
Okay.
And do you know I actually submitted that word to be included in the dictionary?
Really?
The
Do you
only
get
way-
royalties from it?
No, you don't. But the way
You
it's
should have
included-
trademarked it.
I'm working. That's being done now.
Okay.
It's too late now. She already told us. I'm finna
It
call
isn't.
somebody down
It
here
isn't
and
too late.
trademark.
No, process is going on right now, but it has to be used a lot in order to be added into the dictionary. So,
Invisibuse.
So
Okay. So
we're-
tell us about Invisibuse.
Invisabuse is taking the veil off of the invisible forms of abuse that is going on every day, pretty much everywhere.
Invisible
But
forms.
man, this is the thing. A lot of people are abusive and don't know it. Not just in like romantic relationships or marriages or whatever, but sometimes friendships.
Really?
Yeah, so it's kind of like you got a homegirl or a home guy that you tell them something simple, and before you're done, they're like, "Well, I would have so and so, so and so." And can you imagine hearing that every conversation?
Right.
They're sending a message like, "What you're doing is not good enough."
Okay.
Or and the things they probably are never going to be in that situation, but a lot of times we don't have the soft skills to not be abusive. Just think about that. Even in relationships, a lot of young women grow up with attitudes, and it's glorified. You know, she got an attitude problem. Guess what? Your husband isn't going to want to deal with that. No, he says, "Good morning, baby. Good morning." And you can be like, "What's wrong with this girl?" Guess what? The girl at work that doesn't have an attitude problem, he's gonna start craving interaction with her from her more. So a lot of times, and then what I describe in the book as Invisabuse is we have 4 classes, and the most extreme class is called extreme, and that's when Invisabuse gets physical. But most of the time, invisible abuse is not physical, and so people discount it as abusive. So you have things like verbal abuse, okay, emotional abuse, psychological abuse. Sometimes when people say we're together, say we're all together.
Hey.
You can see his face.
Oh, Dave, you don't want to share?
I was-
Okay, just be with Dave then. Just be with Dave.
He
They
doesn't
don't,
want to. Okay, yeah.
they
he
don't
doesn't
want
wanna
to.
say.
Yeah, see that?
He
He's like,
started growling a little. So say we're together, right? And you come to me on a regular basis, and it's like, man, I can't believe what happened at work today, or I can't believe what my mom did. It was hurtful, and I
Right.
purposely, for whatever reason, hold the empathy from you. I don't empathize. I'm like, oh, okay, well, you all right, right?
Or the better one is, Girl, I know my mama did that to me last week.
Ooh,
Let me tell you what she did to me.
I can't take it. So imagine those things going on consistently. Is what abuse is, to misuse on a consistent basis. And so, look, we have things like physical ailments that can manifest from abuse, invisible forms of abuse. And we have psychological illnesses that can manifest from it. And there are people in marriages, decades long, that have just been dealing with it and need to come out of it or want to come out of it. So that's what the book is about.
But you know, when you say people, I found that particularly women who have been in those types of situations, they might go home to mom or dad, and here's what irritates me more than anything else. Girl, you need to go on back to him. That's your husband.
Yep, it happened to me.
Wow.
I expressed that. I was like, I think he got physical with me. Like, he grabbed me. He never punched me. But I went to walk away from him one time, and he grabbed my arm and twisted me back to where his handprint was on my arm the next day. Mm-hmm. So it's like, did he abuse me? You know? So you rationalize it. And the next time was weird. We're kind of arguing, and he's standing in my face, and he puts his arms around me, my back, and pulls me to him really hard, chest to chest. I'm like, what are you doing? Right? And so I had to punch him in his chest with both hands to get him away from me. Like, what was that? And so it's very abstract. You like, am I being abused, or is this person just having a bad day? And so a lot of those little bitty things will add up, but it takes time. And so the book is exposing a lot of stuff. It isn't necessarily calling people out, but it's just helping to identify it within the abuser, within the victim, so that we can move forward as a society and not be so freaking abusive.
I think that is a great title, Invisabuse. So when is the book going to be out? When will people be able to purchase the book?
January 1st, 2020.
Oh, so that's about 2 months. So,
yes, sir. I'm excited.
Well, I see you. You look like.
I'm beaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I like
is
to
that,
beam.
Is that what that is?
I like to beam.
Oh, okay. Well, you're beaming.
Thank you.
Beam on,
Beam
baby.
on, baby. Yes,
Beam
I
on.
can feel you. We're connected.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
Robert can't help because you're on a different highway.
are you okay?
That's cool. Yeah, I think I'll be okay. I think I'm
I
trying to
think
get past this.
I think he's okay.
So, are you doing any pre-sales for the book?
No, because it's just a couple months. You know, I will have some promotional copies Christmas.
Okay,
right?
so let me tell you about pre-sales.
Okay, tell me.
Because you know I'm in this business.
Oh, okay, tell me.
Okay.
I like that.
You ought to be selling your book right now.
Okay.
Okay. So whatever the retail cost is, you could possibly be selling your book now at a discount for those who purchase it before it comes out. That will be putting money in your bank account. Okay.
I like
so
money in the bank.
most sisters do. And what that'll do also is that the cost that you will be spending on printing and things of that nature, that'll help defray some of your initial printing costs. Whereas that you've already got money in the bank, that you've sold the book already, all you've got to do, that money we'll use for printing, and then when the full print version comes out, that's retail, you make money off of that too. So
I got you, definitely.
so just word to the wise, start contacting your friends saying, you know, and here's an early sale on Invisabuse. Give a quick synopsis of what the book is about. Give them 30 days. This would be a great Christmas present, you know, and have them go ahead and set up and buy it for Christmas. And then you ship the book, you know, when it's here. So that's money that you can be earning.
I got you. I like that. I like learning stuff.
I do too.
I like learning stuff from men, though.
Yeah, I like learning stuff from women.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh God, really?
You
Jesus.
can't talk. You completely checked out over
I
there.
did, but I didn't think I was like going. I didn't think I was gonna like go to
But I think
full fledged.
no, it wasn't full fledged. I don't think
Okay,
it was full fledged.
fine.
Okay.
It was full fledged.
Do
Why
you see
why
that I
are
have the
you
ability
hating
to
over there?
disarm you?
Dave, maybe yes, completely.
Why are you hating over there?
Oh,
I'm not hating. I'm not hating.
Yeah, you
I'm
are.
not hating. Okay.
I'm trying to help a sister sell her book.
okay.
You're right.
Okay. And by the way, March 28th, we're traveling to Los Angeles to Black Writers on Tour.
Great, y'all can get a room.
I will get.
Wow.
And Mac, right now, I don't know if you know Kesha. I can't even think of Lakeisha's last name now. Lakeisha Johnson. She's going as well. She has a book. I believe Jenny Love, who is on the morning show, is going. So we'll have a nice little delegation going to Black Writers on Tour, something that I've always wanted. And I'll be in touch with Dr. Rosa Milligan here in a little bit to let her know. But I think you'll find that this will be very beneficial to you as well, as far as understanding. And if you need any updates or information on publishing, Dr. Rosa Milligan is the person to do that as well.
Oh, okay, perfect.
So one of the earlier Black women publishers in the country. She'll and there'll probably be 150, 200 authors at that event that day.
Okay.
You know,
You ready to talk about the casinos?
are you cutting me off?
I would never do that. Sir.
Okay, I just want to make sure because I'll tell Kesha on you. I told you I was looking for a new host. I got one now. Yeah.
Give me back my life.
Apologize.
Yeah, okay.
Go
I'll
ahead.
tell you what, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it in my silent voice. So listen really carefully. I'm gonna do it in my silent voice.
Yeah. You know, the one thing I find about dealing with black men is that they have a problem apologizing.
Oh my goodness,
Do you see that, Kesha?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I get that.
Really?
Black women do too, though.
Yeah, Lord have mercy.
They'll hold it back.
I would not have y'all up
am
here
not one
using
of
black
those.
folks.
I am not one of those women, though.
So let's talk a little bit about one of the other subjects I want to get into is the casinos. As you all know, that there are casinos are on the way in Pine Bluff. They have already started refurbishing Oaklawn to build a casino and hotel in Hot Springs. And this argument can be made about the horse track because the horse track never really panned out for Hot Springs proper as far as the overall support of Hot Springs. I remember going to the horse track when I was 17, 18 years old, and the only thing that looked decent in Hot Springs was the horse track area. Everything else around Hot Springs was run down, and they called it aesthetics. But the point that, and then of course, I was at the forefront of when they went down to Sugar Ditch, which is what they called Robinsonville and Tunica at the time. It was the poorest county in America. They called it Sugar Ditch, and I, at the time, was living in Memphis and went to a church called Greater Money. And every twice a year, we would load up cars, U-Hauls, vans with clothing, with food, all kinds of things. At one point, the last time before I moved away, we had over 150 U-Haul trucks, cars, and vans loaded with supplies to take down to Sugar Ditch and give to people. We ran into a young lady, and I'll tell you this, the first time I went, it was so overwhelming to me that many of us stood in the middle of the street and just cried like babies because we could not believe how people were living. Holes in the floor in the dead of winter, raining. A young lady who was pregnant, 6 months pregnant, who had never had any prenatal care, went to a plantation where the owner called the sheriff on us because we were giving clothing and food to people who still lived in slave huts. This is in Mississippi, and this was in the 1990s. Okay, so they claim that we'll bring the casinos to Tunica and this is gonna fix all the problems and yada yada yada. What they didn't say is that they were going to import most of the workers. The people that were in Tunica at the time were not going to be able to get those jobs because, number one, many of them were uneducated. Many of them were displaced. So when they built those casinos, all of those people were just ran off. No one knows where they went. Okay? So I say all that to say because there's an article in The Atlantic, and it's called A Good Way to Wreck a Local Economy. Build casinos. All right. And it was written years ago, but it makes because I've seen it up front and personal now. I saw Tunica. They're even now going to do West Memphis. You know, they're going to build casinos in West Memphis. I don't know if a lot of people know that. That's going to be accompanying the dog track now. I just spent the weekend outside of Hot Springs, and sure enough, and here's the thing about Hot Springs. To show you how dirty they are, as Robert, you know, I play blackjack. I love going to casinos. I ain't gonna lie about that. Okay, I love playing blackjack. But if I go to Tunica, and I've been to Atlantic City. I've been to Vegas. I've been to just about every Reno, every casino city in America, just about. At least the old ones. And everywhere I go, you can play $5 blackjack. Now, this is just my personal rant on Hot Springs. You can play $5 blackjack. When you go to Hot Springs to play blackjack, it's $15 a hand. All night long. Now, that may not mean anything to a lot of you all, but what that's saying is that we don't want a lot of riffraff over here playing blackjack. We're gonna increase the bids high enough so that we can take as much money as we can, and you can lose as much money as you don't have. Okay? So to me, that's what that means. And I actually went up to a person and said, why are blackjack hands $15 a hand? And they had dealers, open tables, no one sitting at the tables. Okay? And she said, well, that's just for the weekends. And I told her, I said, I can go to Tunica any day of the week, including weekends, and they're going to have $5 tables. You all are losing money, but that's another. But again, that's another way that they're bilking that community. You know, so the bottom line is this: the only city that has been successful with casinos is Vegas. Okay. No other city. You look at Atlantic City. Atlantic City is run down. Okay. You look at any other casino in this area, any other city or state in this country. Yeah. Vegas is the only one that's been successful. It's the only one. Okay. So to think that the casinos are gonna save Pine Bluff or Russellville, all you got to do now, because let's see. It's been at least, it's been almost, believe it or not, it's been almost 30 years since Tunica has had casinos. It doesn't seem like that long, but it has. Because see, I lived in Memphis 15 years, and then turned around and lived in Nashville for 15 years. Okay?
Weird years?
Memphis definitely was weird. Trust me. Lord have mercy. But the point I'm trying to make is that let's give them 20 years. Okay. And 20 years should be long enough to see an economic impact on a city, right? Shouldn't it? Yeah, so there is no economic impact. Here's what they said. If you go down 61, they said, oh, well, they're going to have shops. So when you come down to Tunica, you'll be able to go to shops. When was the last time y'all been to Tunica?
It's been a minute.
Yeah, me too.
But just think about when you're driving down 61, what's there? Nothing. And the shops that they opened initially, they're now closed. Okay?
So you're saying they suck money out of the community and they don't put it back into it.
Exactly. Because see, that money now,
they don't have to pay taxes, do they?
Well, they pay a form of taxes, but here's what the state of Mississippi did. Part of the reason we used to say that, boy, I'm glad I'm if you start making fun of Arkansas, you'd say, well, at least I'm not from Mississippi.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. But at least Mississippi took a portion of the money that they gained from the casinos and invested it in their public school system. Okay. Now that helped move Mississippi schools ahead of Arkansas at one point. No. Let me finish.
If you're talking about buildings, yes. If you're talking about buildings, yes.
Well,
they moved ahead of us. But you still got 87%.
I agree.
78% of them who graduate. 78%.
I agree.
It's still the poorest state in America.
It's still the poorest state in America.
Well, not only that, Dave made some great points, and I think a greater point is, so everybody talks about, what really grows a city is your population. Your population growing, right? So if you look at Tunica, I'm just gonna give you this. This is census data. This ain't my numbers, y'all. These real census numbers. So in 1990, the population in Tunica was 8,164.
It ain't that much more now.
Now it's $10,778.
So in 20
Not significant
years,
enough
right,
to have an impact on the tax roll.
right. So in 20 years, it's only grown 2,000 people.
Yeah.
Think about that. So
100 people a year.
So that's pathetic. But they tell you that casinos is going to bring all this growth. I mean, look, you can go to Los Angeles right now. A lot of people don't realize California has casinos.
Yeah.
And they sit right smack dab in the middle of Los Angeles. And if you don't know it's a damn casino, you wouldn't know it's a casino.
Yeah, but again, in certain cities, casinos do provide a benefit, right? Like in a city like Los Angeles, yeah, it will provide a benefit because you have people who travel, who sightsee in LA. They go and they say, you know what, y'all got a casino? Yeah, let's run to the casino.
You're not going to casinos
But hold
anyway.
on. The thing is, if you go to Pine Bluff to gamble, just like when you go to Tunica to gamble, if you go to Tunica, you're going to gamble. You ain't going to look for a hotel. You ain't going to find nowhere to eat. This is the thing. When you go to Tunica and you leave, I'm doing two things when I leave. Either I'm stopping to get gas or I'm passing the gas stations. Them the only two things I'm doing in Tunica. You with me? I'm not trying to spend no money in Tunica. So all these falsehoods they make about now Pine Bluff's going to have more activity. I read a great article.
No, it isn't.
That said they talked about casinos, right? So they were saying that companies won't even consider locating in certain towns if they have a casino, because they said that on payday attendance is down. I mean they laid it out. They laid it out.
Yeah. You know why, right?
They spend their money at the casino.
They're going to the casinos.
They laid it out, and they said that they would not relocate, or they would not take their businesses to cities that had casinos. And so, people were, in the article, the guy said, well, we're getting to a point now where it's almost impossible not to be able to hit a casino. But he said we would not put a business in a city that has a casino within walking distance, as he said, right? Because if you put a casino in Pine Bluff, you've pretty much guaranteed yourself that the only thing you're gonna have now, you're gonna have a whole bunch of check cashing places. You're gonna have a whole bunch of pawn shops, right? Those, if you go to Tunica now, I remember a guy saying that in 1990 there was not a pawn shop in Tunica. That if you wanted to pawn something, you had to go to Memphis. Now in Tunica, just in Tunica, you have 7 pawn shops.
Well, they've all closed down now.
No, the pawn shop's still open. You have to go into Tunica.
Well, they used to have them on 61 where you're coming out of Tunica going back to Memphis. All of that stuff is closed
Well,
down.
you got the one that's over to your right. But if you go into Tunica, if you actually go into Tunica, like you're going back toward
You're going south on 61.
going back south, you'll see all of them. Yeah, they got a ton of them. Totally different ballgame. But that's what you get when you get casinos. Casinos don't generate anything. They don't generate anything positive for a city. Little Rock was really smart. I give them credit for that.
No, they
We
weren't.
voted against the casino.
No, they weren't.
Yeah, we voted against the casino.
It's not that they were smart. It just so happens that it just happened
They
that
didn't
way.
want that. I say that the design of, coming from a business standpoint, if you have an entity that is making money and not having to pay taxes back to where it is making it, that is not a good design. Period.
Why not?
It's that simple. Now, me personally, I don't mind.
So you're saying football stadiums.
Well, speaking of football,
But here's why I'm saying that. Because, most football stadiums are built by the taxpayers. Even, and not just football stadiums.
arenas. Like the one in
Arenas.
Little Rock.
As a matter of fact, Dell Computers, when I worked for Dell, when they first moved to Nashville, the city of Nashville sold them the land that they built their company on for $1. In exchange, see, here's the argument that they use. Now, I will admit, Dell did bring high-tech jobs. I'm part of that process. I was part of class number 10. Okay? So, and the skills that I learned
Get a
that...
shirt?
Yes, I did, and a lot more other stuff. The skills that I learned from Dell, I use it to live every day now.
Okay.
But the casino is a different story. You're not gonna learn any high tech skills that's gonna take you into the future.
Let's say if you have a job there. you said.
If you have a job there, so you're gonna be making minimum wage. Servers are not gonna make that much money. I remember when I used to go to Tunica, it used to be packed. It's no longer packed anymore. They
They
even
run out of money.
right. They've even said that they said, oh, well, this is going to be good for Memphis. People are going to have to come through Memphis to go to Tunica. Well, you know what I started doing, because I lived in Nashville, when I'd come to Memphis, instead of staying in Memphis, guess where I stayed? In Tunica. I could stay in Tunica and I could be self-contained, I could eat, and particularly during the week, because I did travel a lot during the week, $29 for a hotel room. I tell people now, when you go to Vegas, the best time to go to Vegas is during the weekdays. You know why? Because the rooms are cheaper. They uprate their rooms on weekends because everybody wants to go to Vegas on the weekend.
Oh, I can go during the
All right? And you think about the rooms, the number of rooms that they have in Vegas. I mean, they've got thousands that are empty. A hotel doesn't make any money unless that room is being used. So during the week, they would rather make, when we first started going to Vegas, the Sands is not there anymore. We stayed at the Sands Hotel for $29 a night.
Right.
Okay? And then, so here's what people do. They'll check into a cheap hotel, and then on the weekend, they'll go and check into a bigger hotel and stay one day. So, or 2 days. So now Vegas makes you stay at least 3 days because they got wind of that. Okay?
Great business model.
It's-
Make more money.
Exactly.
Make more cash.
Exactly. So my point in saying all of that is the casinos is a panacea. It's just not going to help what you think. And by the way, most of those casinos are owned by certain people. You understand that, right?
Yeah.
So that money,
tax-exempt, certain
right? That money is not going to go to the city per se.
No, it is not.
It's going to go back to the owners in Vegas because that's where all those casinos are owned, in Vegas. So,
Or about the Indian tribes.
or the Indian tribes for
So
that
they get
matter.
their tax revenue, but everybody seems to believe that this tax revenue
No.
is just outrageous. And if you look at, I mean, I read an article not long ago, and it was talking about the numbers of casinos since the 2008, since we had the financial crash, that casinos haven't been making the kind of profits they made before. So if they're not making the kind of profits they made before 2008, so they're not doling out the kind of tax revenue that they were before that. So again, it's just the casinos. I don't know what people are looking for when you're talking about it. I think honestly, getting a company to come to your town that's going to employ maybe 100 people. I think that would be a greater revenue generator.
That's what they claim is
Yeah.
happening in Palm
Well, I mean,
with the casino.
the thing is so what they don't tell you. I read this great article, and I wish I would.
If you don't have any guarantees that they go, see the difference. I don't mean to interrupt you, but the difference in Dale, the city, when they gave them that land for $1, Dale was contracted to hire 500 people, and they had to maintain 500 people full-time employment for the length of that contract. That was 20 years. Okay? Otherwise, they would be penalized. So, and those 500 people, the majority of them had to be from that area,
from the county.
from that Davidson County, Rutherford County area. So they couldn't fly all their folks in.
Right.
Okay. Now they did some to do training, but many of them went back to Austin.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna do things like that, then you must put in guarantees, because in a casino issue, just like in Tunica right now, where it used to be packed, that's a service industry. So that's based on how many people are showing up on a regular basis.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So I might be busy this Friday. Next Friday, I'm not busy. So what am I going to do? I'm going to cut my payroll.
Right.
I'm going to send folks home. Whereas Dale, you got that $17.50 an hour regardless.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
So they're targeting these areas that have been gentrified and just like run down.
No, they're not gentrified. If you look at
Pine
Tunica,
Bluff definitely is.
it's not gentrified. There's black folks in Pine Bluff. I mean, it's 80% black.
Okay, let's say financial gentrification.
Look at Tunica. Well, I mean, you're talking about Pine Bluff to some degree. Pine Bluff, yeah, they've been decimated because they lost all their factories. But
We won't say which bank, but the bank that's down there stopped mortgaging houses and loaning any kind of money in Pine Bluff.
You talking about Simmons?
Who?
y'all are sick.
Um,
But if you look at
Isn't Simmons from Pine Bluff?
Yeah, they're from Pine Bluff.
Okay.
Are they? Okay.
If you Well, and Simmons no longer exists. They've been bought by Centennial.
Did they?
Yeah, haven't they?
No,
I don't know.
they still exist.
Or they bought Centennial
Unless they-
then.
Yeah, they probably
Okay,
bought
they
some.
bought some.
Remember, they just put that big logo on this building that
Oh,
lights
that's
up
right,
at
that's
night.
right. So they
Yeah.
bought
It
Centennial
lights
back.
up at night.
Mm-hmm.
That one.
But
Yeah, it's
if you-
priority.
If you look at the casinos, man, for me, they're a ripoff. If you read this article lays it out very clearly. The casino industry is a tight knit group of folks. So you got a construction company that will build your casino.
Sure do.
You got a security company who will run your security. I mean, everything that happens in the casino, there's a tight knit group. It's not like they go outside for a lot of the stuff they need.
Right, so they don't contract. They're not going to be going out contracting
To the
people
local
in
contractors, no.
Pine
Well,
Bluff.
Nap Oats is the one that got that contract.
Yeah, they probably got the Little Rock portion. They're probably gonna be there, but there's gonna be some. If you go Google companies that build casinos, you'll find there's like 4 or 5 companies across the
They
country
probably are
that
the
build casinos.
subcontractor.
Well,
You're saying. I think they are. But we
so you would have to
attended
make
some of those
NAPO the contractor, and then this other group would be the sub, right?
meetings. What other group?
The other group that's actually
Well,
going to
there
build
were
the casino.
groups up under Nap Oats as well. Is
Yeah.
what we were told.
Because what they probably did is like what Pine Bluff probably did is what everybody else tries to do is says, hey, like when the city does a contract for a bridge, they won't let a guy from Texas come in and do the contract. He's got to partner with you. So you make the bid, he's going to do the work, but you're going to be the contractor, technically. So that's the same thing they're doing, right? But if you look at everything about these casinos are horrible because they don't generate any revenue. Not only that, they don't really create jobs because if you go to Hot Springs, if you go to any new casino, people leave. Because what happens is when you open a new casino, you want the best of the best. So people travel to all these new places when they hear a casino's opening because that's where you can make a ton of money because they want to pay for your experience because they want the casino to be smooth and seamless, right? You don't want to have any problems. You can have problems later, but when you first open your door, you want to be smooth and seamless, just like all the other casinos you've been to already. So the casinos are willing to pay top dollar for experienced people. That being the case, you're not going to get guys like me and Dave. Well, he ain't going to be getting no job there.
So are
not
you
starting
saying you're
out.
not experienced?
No, I wouldn't be experienced
You're
because
not-
first off,
are
I
you
have to pay to go to a
experienced,
class to learn how to deal. And if I don't have the money to go to pay
I'm
for the class,
experienced.
I
I
can't
don't
do
know
it.
about you.
You
You
can
experienced?
you can deal. You can deal.
I can probably do anything.
Versatile.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can do anything, Doc. I heard that. All right.
Yeah, probably.
I'm Miss Kesha Cobb.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Did they didn't tell you? Did you
They
not
didn't
get the
tell you
memo?
that?
Did you not
Okay.
get the memo?
Well, I'll be sending out an email right
Yes, I
now.
will.
Yeah, so those places, they are not everything they're cracked up to be, and everybody seems to think that they are. Everybody was running the Pine Bluff thinking that was gonna be like this big bag of money just gonna fall out the sky. Nah, player. Ain't gonna happen.
You mean at the annex?
Yeah, everything.
Yeah, my
Everybody's like,
mom,
yeah, we
when
gonna.
she was like, girl, it's the little nickels. You got to put the nickels in the machine. I was like, Mother, I don't know. I don't want to go. I didn't want to go. I don't do casinos well. I remember the smoke from back in the day. I went one time to one.
Well, you know, I tell people, look, I go to casinos, but I go for fun. I'm not going to try to win a house or a car or anything like that. I play blackjack professionally. I think I'm a professional blackjack player.
Okay. These are
You know,
skills. These are
And
experience.
it's just over. You're right. It's just from experience and so on and so forth. But I understand that this is not going to pay my rent, pay my bills,
Okay,
things
yeah.
of that nature. I take money. You know, I'll go and, you know, let's say, for instance, for lack of a better, I know I'm gonna spend $100 playing blackjack. Win, lose, I'm gonna spend $100. That's it. Okay. It's a skill that you have to develop. But what casinos prey on is just that. Is that come win your fortune. Come, you know, and they end up taking money more from poor people than they do people who can afford it. And that's one of the arguments that people make is that you think that the casino is going to be the be all to end all. But it really isn't. And again, let me just be clear. I don't have a problem with casinos one way or the other. I think you can't dictate how grown people spend their money. Okay? You
Let's
can.
remember that great point because I'm about to make one.
Right. So when you spend your money, it's just like when people get upset when I was covering the Titans in Nashville. They would get upset when people would, you know, spend $5,000 for a PSL and then not show up for the game. Well, you can't make people pay for a game. You can't make people come to a concert. You know, people have decide what their discretionary income is. But I think people need to understand that casinos are not, will not, and will never be that type of industry that's going to build a city. Now, you might say, well, look at Vegas. Well, look at all the graft and destruction and corruption that went on in Vegas before Vegas got to where it is today. And I will tell you that when I go to Vegas, I end up feeling dirty when I leave. I just really do. It's just.
Is it because you go to a strip club?
See,
Really didn't. How you gonna say that about Vegas?
look, don't get me wrong.
I've never been.
I love Vegas.
Okay.
But see, I've been to Vegas enough times now where I don't just go. So, for instance,
Not answer the question.
the last time I do not go to strip clubs, ma'am. Thank you very
Uncross your
much.
legs, Dave. Uncross your legs.
I like strip
In
clubs.
a-
I'm not
Uncross your
bashing
legs.
them.
You like what? Oh, we'll say that for
I'm
another
saying
day.
if you're gonna spend $100 at a casino and get nothing back, you can take that $100 to strip
Well,
club. It
again-
relieves so much stress.
That's it now.
I think it's a really good therapy.
No,
How do you really stress the strip club?
no.
By enjoying what you're spending money on. Because people, if you want to enjoy yourself, at least you can listen to music, have a drink.
Yeah.
You go to strip club?
Yeah, you get. I haven't been in a very long
A
time.
very long time.
Okay.
But I
Can
think
I get back? Can I
think
get back
yeah.
to my point on
You
Vegas?
can. You
Okay.
definitely can.
I've been.
We were distracted with the strip club.
Oh, yeah.
You can enjoy
That's
yourself
you-
with Kesha.
you-
Yeah.
You're nothing
Kesha
but
Bass.
a. You did that.
I'm saying Kesha Bass.
That's.
Jesus.
I'm glad you said bass. I was trying to move past that.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay.
Cobb, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kesha Cobb. I'm
Okay.
tripping. All right,
Yeah.
all right, my bad.
But what I'm saying is, I've been to Vegas enough now where I don't go to gamble.
Okay.
You know, because there's so many other things. When I first went to Vegas, Vegas was, and I remember my daughter was 7 and my son was 4. He was 3. He doesn't even remember the trip. And see, I have relatives who live in Vegas, so we'd go out for family reunions. And many of them who worked in the industries in Vegas as well. So I've been to Vegas enough now where initially, they, I'm going to go gamble, I'm going to go gamble.
Yeah.
Now I go, I mean, dinner and a show, you know,
Yeah.
things of that nature. You go shopping. There are so many things now that you can do in Vegas that is other than gambling. Okay.
They have shows there.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. And by the way, when you say that, people think you're kidding. But if you want to know where the latest strip club is in Vegas, all you got to do is look down when you're walking down the street.
Because flyers are on them.
Because flyers are everywhere.
Oh, really?
Okay,
Oh,
they're all over the street. And of course, some of them will walk up to you in G-strings and give you free passes to come to the show. Okay.
Oh, cool.
So you go through a lot of test marketing there. So for instance, last time I was there, we went to do this test market thing. You had to sit in this class for 2 hours and they paid for they paid you $20 an hour.
Like a focus.
And when you walked out, exactly, that's a focus group. When you walked out, they gave you $20, $40 cash. And of course, they gave you a ticket to go to a show. Okay. Or there's a lot of ways you can go to Vegas.
Could I sell my ticket for the cash?
No, the ticket is, well, I guess you could, but you know,
big
but
was mine.
yeah, but a lot of things in
It's a strip club I would go to.
But let's see. So for instance, I went to, I'm sorry, we don't have strip clubs in Little Rock.
Unfortunately, they just tore the
It's
one
closed
down.
Paper Moon.
What's Paper
They
Moon?
closed it down.
Oh, that's oh, okay.
They tore down the
closed.
Gentleman's Club at Legendary when they was in Northwood, right? They
That's
just tore it
Well,
down.
we still got the one in Montreal. I can't think of the name of it. Purple
It's one of
Passion.
my- I wouldn't go to a strip club in Arkansas.
But the point I'm making is that there's a lot of stuff that you can do
Okay.
in Vegas other than gamble.
Okay.
But unfortunately, when you think about Tunica, when you think about places like
Right.
Pine Bluff,
Yeah.
now Tunica has gotten a little better. They do bring acts to Tunica. Someone was there last weekend, a weekend before last. I want to say, I forgot who it was, but they were a big name. So they do bring acts to Tunica. But when you look at a Pine Bluff, when you look at a West Memphis, when you look at a Russellville, all these buildings are buildings that are taking money out of the community by gamblers. They're not going to provide any other entertainment whatsoever. Now, again, I'll go to Tunica on a Friday to eat the seafood buffet. It's one of the best in the country. It really is. So when I would drive over from Nashville, part of the reason that I would stay, I take care of my business that Friday during the day in Memphis, because I knew I was going to stay in Tunica that night because I was going over to Sam's Club to eat the seafood buffet. So there are little amenities that you get, but those amenities are not good enough.
Only amenity I want from the casino is they damn money off the table.
Well, exactly.
I don't want to.
Well, and then that's me. That's me.
I buy my own food. I ain't studying.
Well, when you get that seafood buffet with them langoustines, oh my God.
I need the seafood buffet.
I'll tell you a great
Big
place.
traveling
If you
big
ever go
traveling.
to,
Y'all just doing the food.
that's part of the reason I love Vegas.
Some garlic
Is
butter.
because you can get any type of food you want.
Let me get my burger and fries and
Okay.
run to my room. I'll holler at y'all.
But you know what? That's why what was that movie that was so popular about Las Vegas where the guy got lost and he was going to get married and I can't think of the name of it.
The bachelor party.
It wasn't a bachelor party.
Yeah, he got lost and he was going
Right.
to be getting married. And,
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
But
That's the,
but that
Hangover.
movie, Hangover,
Yeah.
that movie really signifies what can happen in
how much
Vegas.
dope you done bought in Vegas?
You
How
don't.
much what?
You don't have to.
You don't have to buy dope. They
You
just
don't
give
have
it to you.
Is it in the air?
No, what I'm saying is that there's plenty of stuff that's going to
All in your
gonna
lap.
keep you
So
excited.
While you're
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Vegas, have
yeah.
you ever went anywhere other than the casinos? Have you ever been over to UNLV to check out a game? Or
Well, I have been to UNLV, but the funny thing about Vegas is that when you land in the airport, you got those one-armed bandits in the airport.
yeah, I thought that was really crazy.
You've got, you know what I'm talking about, right?
No.
The slot machines.
Oh, okay.
There, you can gamble in the airports.
In the bathroom.
In the bathroom.
This place
Wherever
is
you
nuts.
go, the McDonald's has slot
slot
machines.
machine,
Wow.
Okay,
This place is nuts.
it's crazy. So
The only time I've ever not wanted to gamble, the only time I've ever got tired of gambling is when I was in Vegas.
yeah,
That's the
because
only time
it's
I've ever-
everywhere, and that's why I tell people that you have to consciously try to do something else. You have to take the the biggest what's the dam? The Hoover Dam
Yeah.
is 20 minutes outside of Las Vegas. You gotta go. It is when you understand what they did
The Hoover Dam was pretty impressive.
to carve that out of that canyon, out of that rock, is a fascinating marvel. In fact, they've had documentaries about it. How many people lost their lives, and you've got to go. So, but again, if you don't know that,
Right.
then
I'll tell you what's even more fascinating. So when I went to the Hoover Dam this last trip, they were talking about how much water they've lost. I mean, they've lost.
yeah, and you can see it from the rocks. You can see the
And
the
that's
water
not,
level.
It's not like a 20-year loss.
No.
It's like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're losing like tons of water. And so I think we should be cognizant of that. I mean, people are starting to have water wars. We got states who are now having water wars.
Right.
And I think people better wake up and realize that, while we're not having those discussions publicly, there are some issues in our country with water.
Right.
We better wake up.
Right.
Yes, and other natural.
Right. So, but that's what I'm
water,
saying.
more importantly, I mean, water is the most important resource
Well,
there is. You can't. That's the only thing that we can't make.
And you know, Nestle is trying to corner the market on water. By the way.
Has
Yeah.
cornered.
Yeah. So, but my point being is that there's more to do in Vegas than just just go gamble.
And unfortunately, it's not
Yeah,
more
and
than
when-
in Pine Bluff.
And when y'all get a chance, I really want y'all to check out the
Exactly, and that's
You
where
know,
I'm
there's
going.
nothing else to
So
do
when
in
you
Pine
go to Pine Bluff, what you gonna do? You're gonna go to the casinos,
And then you're gonna drive.
and then
home.
you're gonna
Yeah.
drive home.
Right.
You're not. It's kind of
There's
like
no
what.
mall.
Well,
There's
it's
no
kind of. You're right. It's
very
kind of like
good.
we did with PJs. Y'all don't know if y'all remember the club
Yeah.
PJs.
Yeah.
We would leave here, go to PJs, party at PJs, and then come back to Little Rock.
Yeah.
We did that often. So what's going to be the difference? That the point is that money is not going to be left in Pine Bluff whatsoever, and that's the sad thing about it.
I mean, if
So-
y'all get a chance, I want to make sure I make this point. If y'all get a chance on Netflix, check out. I can't think of the title now, but it's something about
Is it
Bill
like-
Gates, and he's
The
doing
Mind-
something
Bill
really
Gates,
interesting.
The Mind of Bill
The
Gates? Mm-hmm.
Mind of Bill Gates. He's doing something really interesting that I thought was really interesting for two reasons. One is he was trying to figure out a way because they had kids in Africa who were dying at birth or 5. I think the age was the mortality rate was really high for kids under 5, and the reason why is because they had no way to flush out their sewage, so all these toxins they were breathing in would eventually kill them, right? And so he put some money up, and these guys came up with a way.
Yeah, Russ, they still give out free drinks at the casinos.
Not always. That's what Russ likes. So
If you're gambling, you just can't come in there and say, "Hey, can I get a double?"
yeah. So they gave out this money. He put up this money to find a way you had to find a way to process this waste without water. You had to find a way to process the waste without plumbing, right? Because they didn't have enough money to build a $3 million treatment plant. So he came up with this great idea that they take and they use the raw manure and they turn that manure, all that waste into water and steam, right? And what was interesting about that to me is that we are living in a country right now where we take so many things for granted, right? And if you keep reading what people are saying about water, I mean, I don't think people really get this. That we cannot make water.
Right.
There are no 3 chemicals you can put together and make water.
Yeah, it is H and 2 O's.
Not artificially.
Okay, find it then.
Not artificially.
I know.
Okay.
So the problem is that we are in a place now where we are finna have a serious water crisis,
We are
and
in
nobody's having a conversation about it because we're talking about everything else but
Some
that.
people are.
And even cities are talking about now privatizing water.
I don't think they'll be able to have
Well,
I think it will.
go look up Nestle and see what they're doing.
Yeah, they're gonna privatize water.
Yeah, go look up Nestle because they're already doing it.
They're fighting it now.
Yeah, one other point I was going to make about Las Vegas, if you want to go to a great place, if you've never been to one of the best places that I've went to, is Teja de Brazil. And what that is it's a Brazilian restaurant, and it costs about $60 per person.
Is that the long buffet?
Well, they have one of the best salad bars I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
But they cook every meat that you can imagine. And you sit and you eat as much as you want.
And they bring it to the
And
table?
they bring it to the table on a spit, okay, where it's straight off the grill. And, well, what they do is it's stuck in a spit, and the heat is coming up around the spit. So when you come in, they give you this little ticket, and it has 2 sides.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you have one side turned up, and long as that side is turned up, they'll continually bring you all kinds of meat. Okay, and then when you flip it over, you can sit there for 2 or 3 hours. Turn it back over, they'll bring you more meat, more meat, more meat. So, and I say all that because those types of places aren't going to be in Pine
What's
Bluff.
the name of that place?
Tejas de Brazil or
Okay,
Texas
now-
de Brazil. And there's actually, I think it's one.
Brazil in Texas doesn't do that.
Every
Coco de Chao in Texas does that.
Every Tejas de Brazil I've been to, I went to the one, and they had one in
Dallas?
Memphis. I haven't been in one in Dallas, but they had one in Memphis.
Texas de Brazil doesn't do that.
Really? So, but anyway, I say all that is because those types of places where you think will be coming to Pine Bluff, you know, great restaurants, things of that nature, is not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Because when you think about that type of restaurant, you won't have, they make their money off the clientele that is in Vegas. What clientele that's going to turn, because you're looking at 45 to 60 bucks per person. You see what I'm saying? What in Pine Bluff is going to command that type of money?
So when you said earlier you vote with your dollar.
Right.
Right. So this is what people who are going to gamble need to hear, and not in a criticizing way from family members and friends. Oh, don't go over there and gamble, but in an educated way. So look, if we don't support them, then they won't suck the money out of our communities. So it's best to vote with your dollar and keep it to yourself. Okay.
The problem with that logic, which is sound logic, is that most people are going to say, who are you to tell me how to spend my money?
Right. I am Kesha, and I said if it.
What's your last name? So they'll know.
Cobb.
Okay, there you go.
If you got $100 and you want to go to gamble and you might not get it back, it's not wrong with going to the strip club and investing it and having a good time. I'm just saying. I think it's a better
You got
deal.
you got the strip club thing.
I
on the
support. Hey,
brain.
they are artists. They are artists to me. It's hard to do what they do. It really is. So I see absolutely nothing wrong with it. And I'm just saying there are other things you can do. But hey, you know
I'd rather throw mine on the table and get
I
double
throw
down.
mine on the table. You could throw it on the table. Look, you know I'm a sustainability activist and advocate.
What is a sustainability advocate?
You were talking about water conservation and losing it, etc. I promote gardening and producing your own food and conserving water at home. I'm familiar with exactly what.
So, did you capture rainwater?
Yes, I do.
You know that's illegal in Little Rock.
It is not. Well, it
She's
ain't
in North
illegal
Little
in
Rock.
Arkansas.
She in North Little Rock.
Oh, okay.
You're in North Little Rock, right?
I am.
I'm not being funny. There are a lot of cities that will not allow you to do that.
There are. Now, but this is why, though, knowing what I know about it,
Mm-hmm.
depending on how you capture it, okay, depending on the smog and all the stuff that's going on, like if you have something under a tree
Mm-hmm.
and you capture that water, there's no telling what's in it. You can get sick or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
okay? But if it's in open air and the air is clean or whatever, you may need to filter it. In other words, it may not be healthy to ingest. Now,
Mm-hmm.
for the plants,
It doesn't matter.
yeah, plants know what manure is, all that stuff. Our body is like, what is this? You just drank. It may be some kind of virus or something. It really could be.
Can I tell you for me what's flawed with that, right? It's so when it rains, we walk in the rain, and our skin is the biggest sponge, right? And so I'm often confused when people talk about you can't bottle natural water and drink it because there's so much of this and that in it. But when it rains on us and it rains on our skin absorbs that same water. So
I
No.
think you can't bottle it, though.
What do you mean?
When
Your skin absorbs water.
You're talking about you're right, your skin absorbs water, I agree. But that theoretically that water is falling from the sky. When you're talking about drinking from a spring, that water has hit the ground, it has ran through the system, not the water system, but let's say for instance you're out in the woods.
It filters through the
It has filtered through the rocks, the grounds, and it has picked up all the mitochondria and all of the potential viruses and things of that nature that you could catch. Now, the key when you're out in the wilderness, talking to an ex-Boy Scout here who did that, went out and spent two weeks in the mountains because we had to literally drink out of streams.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, we had to drink out of streams.
Right.
Is that you needed to add iodine tablets to kill any bacteria. And then, of course, the other thing is that the water needs to be traveling at least 6 miles an hour. And that means that you want water that's flowing over rocks or something like that that's moving,
Right.
because that will help filter out some of the parasites and things and stuff like that. So that's what
see,
it
if
is.
you're
I
educated-
always talk about my
But
Boy
see, if
Scouts.
you're educated, you can survive. You really can.
Exactly.
And there are simple filters you can get now.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was thinking, if I have a big tank on the back of my house and I collect water, I don't have
Mm-hmm.
to pay for municipal water, and which is the stuff that's in the.
What is-
That's me beating my head on the desk. I'm done.
Why?
Wait a minute.
He kind of added to your great point.
Gosh, Robert,
Now-
you could
I
say
think he
it.
did.
Okay, fine. I'm done. Okay.
You're
Gosh.
not done. You're not
Hallelujah.
You're done if you're singing.
done. Okay.
But
Oh, really, dude?
no, I was just kidding. No, I was just kidding. I just
you
kidding.
hater.
He can be
I
a
just
little
kidding.
sensitive sometimes.
Hey, you trying to hate on my song?
But you know what? Coming up, we'll do some more sustainability conversation because I think part of that is I think black people need to do more
Yes.
of that.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, because if you go back and think about what happened in Katrina, black people were starving because they couldn't feed themselves. So if you're talking about a revolution, how are you going to have a revolution if you can't feed your army?
If you woke.
Yeah, woke. You woke,
If you
Robert.
woke, you can't feed yourself.
Nah, I'm not woke.
Oh, okay.
I'm about to get paid. I ain't woke. Y'all be woke. Y'all get y'all woke
You
on.
can't get paid and wake up at the same time?
Nah,
Okay.
nah, not with y'all craziness.
Yeah. You
Not
don't.
with that craziness.
You don't like black people, do you?
I love my peoples. I'm gonna love them a whole lot more when I be taking these checks to the bank, though.
Oh, you're gonna be taking their money?
Of course I am. I love my people. I'm gonna take their money, put it in the bank, and make it grow.
All right, we got to go.
You heard?
Don't forget tomorrow, 8:00. The weekly.
What's tomorrow at 8:00?
The weekly
that's
sports
right.
magazine.
That's right. Right?
Also, don't forget tonight, 6:40, Little Rock Central, the last home game. They win tonight. They are in the playoffs, and we'll
Who
keep
they
you.
playing tonight?
They are playing Fort Smith Southside tonight.
Southside pretty good.
They're about the same as Central, so this is a winnable game
What's
for
Central's
them.
record? What is their
Central
record
is
so far?
4-4 right now. Okay,
4-4. So
So
this is our last game. This is our last home game.
this is the last home game.
How many
And
games are they playing? Now?
The last game is next week. So, and then of course they play 9, and then they go to the playoffs.
So we're only
So,
playing 9 games now.
yeah, we played 12 back in the day.
Awesome.
So, by the way, pregame starts at 6:40, and of course the game starts at 7. I'll be doing the play-by-play, so y'all check it out. Give them, I talked to pregame is going to have some interviews with a couple of seniors. We're talking about this is their last time they're going to cross this path. Interesting insight as well. This has really been good for me doing this for Central as well. So, but anyway,
Sounds like a plan.
and then, of course, we'll be back on Monday for Black Focus Radio every day, noon to 2 p.m. Don't forget the podcast. I'll be uploading the show here in just a little bit. And, of course, Robert, what do you got going on this weekend?
Nothing, man. Chilling.
Yeah, you can have a great time. What about you, Miss Keisha?
I am gonna finish that book.
Oh, that's right. And by the way, congratulations for your debut on the show.
Thank you.
You did a good
She was on the show
job.
last 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks
No,
ago.
but this is the official debut.
I was.
Okay.
Today was
Yeah, you did a great job today. I got a lot of positive comments from you as well, and we're looking forward to getting more and more insight from you. And you're gonna have to learn to ignore Robert.
Robert.
Well, I'm the one that got to be ignored.
Because you're the troublemaker.
My
won't
feelings
be
are so
ignored.
hurt right now. Hey, hopefully we'll know back from the FOI this week if they're coming on.
Oh,
Well,
great.
this week-
The FOP.
FOP,
The FOP.
yeah.
Oh,
I
great.
was
I know
gonna say the
something like
FOI with you.
Yeah.
Sorry. My
Yeah.
mind's somewhere else.
If you don't come on, you're checking.
No, I'm sure they'll come on.
We'll see. All right. You got your quote ready?
My quote.
What do you mean, my quote? Was that a question?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, Robert, you ready?
No, let her get her quote.
My quote.
Yep.
We do every day we end the show, we end on a quote.
Okay.
Have you not listened to this show before?
I
Don't answer that.
believe okay.
Because that's not a good answer.
Yes, it sure isn't. It's unacceptable. We'll cut
You'll
you.
never know what the answer was gonna be.
Okay. So we're waiting on your quote, Robert.
Where's your quote?
He said Robert.
No, ladies first. I can't have a quote
Ladies
without. I
first.
can't
This
have
is
a
just
quote.
my own quote.
Yeah,
Yes, any
whatever
quote
wanna
that you
say.
want, long as it's clean. You in them
Okay.
strip clubs today.
That's exactly where my mind was going.
Oh,
Okay,
Lord.
my quote is to become a homeowner and build wealth. Okay.
No, I like that. Roberto?
All right, hold on, man.
Oh, God. How long have you been doing this show?
I can't see, brother. I'm blind.
Yeah.
ready?
Glasses do wonders. 46 seconds.
You can't separate peace from freedom because no one can be at peace unless he has his freedom. Spend money in your own community. Peace.
America was built on two monumental crimes, the genocide of Native Americans and the enslavement of Africans. The tendency of official America is to memorialize their other people's crimes and to forget its own in order to seek a high moral ground as a pretext to ignore real issues. Y'all have a great day. Good show, folks. Good show. You did really well, Miss Keisha. You keep it up, and you might have a place on this show.
Man,
So
Well-
how about that?
I have a what?
No, I was talking to Keisha.
I ain't studying you.
I stunned you.
Take your ass outside.
We had a total of the highest number I saw today was 33.
Really?
So
It
not
was
bad.
Friday though, right?
Yeah, not bad. Not bad.
All right, I'm out at 5.
All right, Miss Keisha, I need you to look at this document for me
Yes.
so I can get this going.
Okay.
But all right, man, I will holler at you. Let me save this real fast.
All right, y'all be good. Have a good week.
All right, man,
Okay,
take it
you
easy.
too.
So I didn't print it off because I didn't want to print it without making sure that all the connects, I understood
right.
everything. You'll find that I ask a lot of questions, and I will tell you also, I'd love to learn a lot of what you know. So you tell me what I need to do to accomplish that
Okay.
between you and I. I'm just gonna be real with you, because as I told, I love women who are smarter than I am. Who
That's a
can,
good security to have.
who can learn me stuff. So I know a lot of men are typically intimidated about that. I'm not. You know, I think if you got a smart sister or some smart sisters in your corner, you can accomplish.
And invest in it,
A lot.
empower them. There you
Exactly.
go.
Okay, so that's
I'm gonna
done.
find my introduction to reader. I
Okay.
put out some of the stuff from the book.
And let me pull up this document real fast. So I'm gonna have to haul tail today because I've got to get